everyone, welcome to my weekly edition of Show Me How It's Done. My name is Lauren Nerbonis and I am a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. So welcome. This is my little fun time where I get to show you guys a product or a little project or technique, and you can follow along with me and do the project too, or you can always come back and, do the project when you might have your materials set up. So what I want to show you today is a card featuring our little Storybook Gnomes. So I have two cards in front of me, and I just simply have them here because I wanted to show you the card on the right. It's made by my friend Zara Premji, and she did a really nice job using this suite to kind of its full potential as well. So I figured if you're investing in the suite, then you might as well get two ideas for the price of one. So I'm just going to show you this card, and you can always take a screenshot. I don't have the measurements for you, but you can easily use some of the papers and the little notes and stuff to replicate this card if you'd like to. So this one is Zara's card there. The card that we are going to do here is this really, really cute gnome card. So I thought I'm going to show you a layout that you could easily replicate with other suites. So let's say you bought the candy cane bundle. You would use candy cane paper in the back, and then on this little decal is where you'd add a little candy cane and your sentiment. You could use the snowman magic, where you've got some kind of wintry paper, and then you can build a snowman here. The list goes on and on. It's a really good layout for multiple suites that you might own. So, sorry, I feel like my house is so dry right now. Okay, so for this card here, let me just show you what we're using. This is the Storybook Gnomes suite. So it's found on page 42 and 43 of our holiday catalog. And just keep in mind that this holiday catalog now is retiring at the end of December, so buy stuff quickly. As of today, like 5 minutes before I started this video, I made sure to check that you can still purchase the Storybook Gnomes paper and the stamp set. The dies are going to be carrying over into our next selection, because there's a really cute spring gnome set that these dies will coordinate with. So these, you don't have to worry if they're maybe marked as unavailable. They will come back. But the stamp and the paper, once it's gone, it's gone. So for myself, I didn't have any paper left to show you. So instead of ordering a brand new pack for this video, I'm just going to show you some of the gnomes and the mushrooms that I've cut out from the paper. So you can see I get a whole lot. I think this is about probably what's left of 2 packages worth. And there's lots and lots of gnomes, lots and lots of mushrooms. Those are all coming from the dies in this Kindest gnome set. So the little gnomes and the mushroom, they all coordinate with different pieces in your papers, and as well the stamps. And you've got a whole lot of potential for what you can do with them. So we're going to make this card together. I'll give you all the measurements. And if you'd like, you can follow along, or you can always do this later too. So let's start with our base. I am using Balmy blue. So I have cut that at 5.5 by 8.5, putting a score mark in the middle at 4 1/4. This is a standard card base that we're going to just fold in half with our bone folders with a nice crisp line. Now, on the inside, I always like to have something that I can write on. So I'm using a piece of basic white. This is 4 inches by 5 1/4. I'm going to throw that on just with a little bit of tape. Of course, our seal would be great, and so would some glue. Now on the front of my card, actually being very generous, I don't usually use this much designer series paper on a project, but we'll make it for somebody special. So this designer paper is 4 inches by 5 1/4. Just make sure that if you're using a directional piece like these mountains, you don't accidentally have it cut so the mountains are kind of facing sideways. That would probably make you sad. So this one I'm going to put on flat onto my card. So on the back, once again, you can see I actually had to take this one off of a project, and that's okay. I can do that and reuse it. But nobody sees the back side. Nobody knows what was back there. No. Make sure your card or your paper is facing the right way so the card opens up with that facing upwards. Okay, now what we're going to do is start building our little decal piece here, this one. So the first piece is a Balmy blue. So I've matched the color of my little tag to whatever I've chosen for the card base. That's how it kind of ties together. This one is 2 5/8 by 3 5/8. We're going to pop that up with dimensionals. I've decided I want mine more on the right-hand side of the card. Depending on if you're using the same gnome layout or a different suite, you might decide to put it on the left. So completely up to you, but I'm going to have about an equal border on the top, the side, and the bottom. And then whatever space is left on my left-hand side is just fine. So this guy now I'm going to set aside for a moment and work with a little bit of my vellum. So this is the Snowflake Specialty Vellum. You'll notice I wanted to bring out the two patterns because we've got kind of a flocked velvety white, and then some of the images are in this like iridescent shine. So there's in the package an iridescent snowflakes, and there would be an equal piece that's kind of the flocked velvet, and then the snowflake patterns that are kind of a little larger too. So it's a really, really cute set that all you're going to need to do is pop your little pieces on top of. So as I mentioned, these two come from my designer series paper, and I'm going to put them on, and then I'm going to show you how you don't have the designer paper and you wanted to kind of color one of these, how you could do that with our blends markers. Okay, oops, backing didn't come off of you. There we go. So I start with my mushroom because that's going to take most space, and it's kind of going to be the focus on the top part of this card. So I've kind of tucked it into the top right-hand side. Now my little gnome is going to actually sit partially on top of the house, and that's the only place that I'm going to put dimensionals. So instead of putting them all over my little gnome, I'm just going to put a few dimensionals kind of across part of the bottom left-hand side of this mushroom. So when I bring in my gnome, he can pop up on those pieces. Okay, kind of like. Now the reason I did this off of my card base is because vellum is very see-through. We don't actually want to put adhesive all over the back of this, simply because it might poke through. Even though, just a heads up, that this vellum is a lot thicker than our other stuff, and you really don't see a lot of adhesive, but it's a good practice to put your images on the vellum, then turn this over, and wherever you see something is covered, that's where you can put some adhesive. So I'm just going to use a big long strip of tape, a couple of those on, and this will be enough to hold it onto your card base without seeing any of that shine through the front. Okay. So this can go onto that blue piece, and it's cut just slightly smaller. There we go. So before I finish this, I promised to show you a little stamping. Okay, so if I was doing this gnome, this guy here, he actually looks like he's kind of stamped in navy. So usually when we're using blends, we'd use our black memento. But this time I'm actually going to use my navy blue and take my little gnome and stamp him on the paper. You do want to maybe give him a couple seconds to dry, because unlike the memento, which dries in a flash, this will take a little tiny bit longer, but should be fine. So you're not going to be able to make it exactly the same, because you'll notice there's little eyelashes on this one that maybe you can find on a different set. But the general idea, we're going to be able to replicate here. Okay, so actually, I think I kind of copied this gnome instead. Here we go. So I'm going to start with his hat, and that is going to be in Poppy Parade. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the dark Poppy Parade and kind of just do a little bit of coloring towards the sides of the hat and the tip. And then also, if you notice his little pocket in his shirt, those guys need a little scribble of the dark Poppy Parade. Then we're going to take the light Poppy Parade and color over the entire hat and the entire pockets, okay? So it should be, you just kind of want to lightly apply the color first, let it soak in, and you can always come back and add more if you need it. Okay, so that'll give you a couple different tones. I'm actually going to switch to the skinny side here. Give you a couple different tones of red, and then at the end, we're going to kind of make it even lighter, which I will show you how to do. Okay, so there's our little Poppy Parade to start with. It's very bold. You'll notice this is kind of washed out a little bit more, and that's okay. This still looks great. For his shoes, I'm going to use the light Night of Navy and just come in. You could do light and dark, but the technique that I'm going to show you at the end will kind of give you that look as well. So just light Night of Navy, do his little shoes up, and then we're going to come over and do his beard. So I've got the light Pool Party, and we're going to just kind of do quite a bit of coloring inside these lines. So you can just kind of keep drawing on the lines that Stampin' Up! Already has. You're not coloring the whole thing. There's some white in there, but we're going to be very generous with this pool party. For his little sleeves, I've got my light Balmy blue. Coming in, giving that to his little cuff is going to stay white, just because I'm replicating as closely as possible. And now for his little gloves, you can use any sort of the natural tones blends. So the one that I grabbed was the deep 200. We'll see. It's probably even a little dark. Whatever. This guy will be just a little darker than his predecessor. Will look adorable still. Okay, so coloring in his gloves, his mouth, and his nose. This guy here. Then last thing on this to replicate is his little cheeks. So I've grabbed the medium light 700, or you can grab ivory, but just two little circles to kind of make his cheeks. Now, this is really bold and really fun. So if you want to kind of lighten it up a little, we've got our color lifter, and we can go over some of these parts to kind of soften them a little bit. So I like to start with whatever my lightest part is, and that's going to be his shoulders. So all I'm going to do for this is just come in and do very quick lines down. It'll take a few minutes for that color to kind of move out of the way, and I can always come back later. Always rub off before switching to another color. I'm going to go with his shoes and just kind of color along the tops of them. So you can see the tops of his shoes are lighter than the bottoms of his shoes. So only doing the very tops so that color gets pushed down towards the bottom. Now the hat is probably the funnest part, where we're going to come a few times and just do lines so it looks like this whitewashed kind of look. You can also scribble in there a little if you feel like it. But as it moves, you'll notice the color is becoming less intense, still stronger than the paper, but it's really lightening. I don't know if you guys can see it. I can. I can start seeing little streaks. I kind of let it dry, then I try again. It'll take a couple seconds. There we go. Really starting to move. Looking in my camera, and it doesn't look like it's lightened a lot for you, but it definitely has for me. So I'm happy with that. It's a lot less intense. What I would then do is come over and grab my little gnome die, line that up. I'd run this through my cut and emboss machine to add to my card. So I decided I'm just going with the pre-cut stuff for this one. So what I did was I grabbed myself one of my little banners from the Stylish Shapes set and a sentiment from one of my favorite sets in this catalog, Brightest Glow. It just has all different sizes and shapes, and I filled quite a few cards with sentiments from this guy here, just because they're so versatile. So I used 'Tis the Season, and I just stamped that in Night of Navy right in the middle here. To pop this one up, I'm going to actually put dimensionals only under the Tis and like SEA part, because I want to tuck the banner kind of behind my little gnome, so I don't want it lopsided in a weird way. So turning that over, really only, I guess you could probably go about halfway. Put your dimensionals there. Oops. There. When you're ready, you can tuck this behind him, however you're happy. And there's your 'Tis the Season. So you can see it doesn't really matter which vellum you use. Both of them are going to look adorable. And then whatever assortment of little gnomes you have, I probably could have even just, you know, gone a different kind of a gnome, or even a different mushroom. But I think I was trying to color, tie in that blue. But either way, these are adorable and really, really easy kind of card prep to mass produce a bit. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that one. I am excited to welcome you next week again at noon. And as always, if you can't watch live, you can follow the replays later. If you click the like and subscribe button, then you'll get notifications when I post videos. There may be a few surprise videos that I don't do live this month, simply because I have a few extra Christmas cards that I want to show you. So I won't do them live, but I'll just post them on the channel. And if you've liked and subscribed, then you will get an announcement when that happens. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Stay warm, and I will see you next week. Bye.